Welcome to episode 24 of BM by BM. I'm Bailey, and
I'm Maxie.
yes,
Welcome to episode 24.
yes. Who knew we would be here when we started tweeting?
Right? What are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about the book, When She Woke, and it starts off with a girl waking up in a prison cell. So the book is basically a futuristic Scarlet Letter, but instead of Hester Prynne having a child out of wedlock, Hannah ends up having an abortion, and then abortions are outlawed in the United States, that dystopia that she lives in. So she gets arrested and sentenced to skin coloration. Yes, chroming. So your skin is different colors based on the crime that you commit. I think child molesters are blue. So in the beginning of the book, when she's talking about being red, she remembers seeing a chrome out in society, and it's a blue, and the girl like makes a face at her, and she gets scared because she's a little child. But you do get chromed for other offenses, whether it's murder or robbery or different things like that. So, but not only is she chromed, but she's also broadcast on national television for her imprisonment, because once they get chromed, they stay in a cell for at least 30 days, if not longer, and they're broadcast on national TV where anybody can see them. And she talks about like what makes a good show. Some people go crazy and they like scratch themselves trying to get the color off. Some people scream and shout and things like that. But it's just, I think that's where I would like our direction to go for this episode, is talking about reality television and the boundaries that have been broken or simulated through reality television.
Sure. So I'm just going to go straight to my, pessimism, whatever you want to call it. I saw a tweet in the last couple of days. Someone was basically making the comment about how they're looking forward to the if peer-reviewed journals are still a thing in the future, the analysis of how science fiction died as a genre in 2020, and we've talked on an earlier episode about how the writer of Dark Mirror or Black Mirror isn't writing. So for me, yes, let's do have the reality TV discussion. But on the other hand, it seems to me like the nonstop news cycle of social media and then the actual news and all of this is giving us, is pumping a reality at us that's pretty shocking. But back to I almost said traditional, the normal reality shows. You begin. Where should we go first?
Well, historically, a lot of reality shows, I mean, MTV started some reality shows like The Real World and Road Rules, but reality shows really took off during the writer's strike. What'd you say?
That's throwing it back. That's the 90s.
I know. So once the writer's strike happened in, I want to say like 2005, 2008. I can't remember the exact time. but reality shows started to become much more popular, like Real Housewives of different cities, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And I think Keeping Up with the Kardashians is really one of the first reality shows that kind of started everything else, because you see this drama, like The Hills on MTV as well. There were scripted storylines, there was drama that was made, previews that are kind of like clickbait to get you to watch an episode when nothing really happens. And it really started documenting a life in the day of people, whether it's like John and Kate Gosselin with their 8 kids or Khloe Kardashian going to pick up a salad. It's just, I don't know. I think it's very invasive of people's lives. They know what it's going to do to them, but it can be a way to project your career. We were watching a video of Terry Crews, who I love, talking about different movies that he's been in on with Vanity Fair, because I feel like all of the magazines are doing interviews with people right now and producing a lot of content on YouTube that you can watch. So there are a lot of videos where people discuss their careers, like Danny DeVito. But Terry Crews was talking about how he was kind of hesitant to put his whole family under the microscope, because he had a short reality TV show just for a couple seasons. But his wife encouraged him to do it because she knew that it would help his career. So I think when you have a reality TV show, if you decide that your family needs to be broadcast, whether it is a network television show like on E or TLC, or you're vlogging your family from day one, so you have a child who's been growing up in the public eye from day one, I think you yourself need to figure out your boundaries and what you're okay with sharing, what you're not okay with sharing. But it's just, I don't know. In a way, you could see the progression of reality television to social media and Instagram and TikTok, and how so many regular kids are just sharing everything about themselves now.
Well, so is there in digging into this, is there anyone who claims that what you see is what you get, like this is really their real life, as opposed to, plenty of stories about so-called reality shows where either scenes are meant and recreated or there's some amount of scripting to them.
Mm-hmm.
Or um, even if it's not, staged per se,
Mm-hmm.
there's what's it called? Is it the Pygmalion effect? That the act of watching something changes it.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, I just have to wonder, how real is the reality anyway?
Mm-hmm.
How can knowing that everyone, the public is watching all the time, not affect how you behave? Whether to amplify something you would have done, to be whatever. Um, and I would say, on a larger scale, the whole idea. I don't know. I don't want to be a get off my lawner, but so there's part of me that thinks that the perpetuation of the reality TV era, if you will, is kind of this idea, perhaps tied to the idea that everything goes. Like, if it's real, it's good. We have people who think the best thing they can look for in their politician is that they are saying what they think, right? So, I'm not too sure about this, the whole thing overall. That, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, television shows are intended as entertainment, but they inevitably impact culture. They always have. And I would want to interrogate, trying to ask, like, so what impacts are reality TV as a genre having on our society?
I don't know. I do think it's interesting that a brand of reality TV is marketed as like a mockumentary, like The Office, like Parks and Rec. And it's interesting to see how many people will watch a television show. Like, I understand watching Ice Road Truckers or like gold miners, or there was a show about moonshiners on TLC. But I think it's really interesting that they've been able to make television out of like pawn shop owners and then motorcycle shop owners and workers, because it's not like Pit My Ride. It's like literally day in, day out regular stuff, but then they start yelling at each other and it becomes a meme. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. So another part, can we just say one or two things about the book?
Absolutely. Okay. Sorry. Reality television took control.
Absolutely. So an interesting point to me is in the book, as in the Scarlet Letter, it's very interesting that these societies their theory seems to be that if there's a threat of enough shame, then you will, shame can be a deterrent for wrong behavior. But it's very interesting that, so I mean, it is again inspired directly by the Scarlet Letter, but in both cases, not only is it not a deterrent, it doesn't work on either the powerful and the folks in the public eye or the average person. That it's as if the entire premise doesn't work. And, well, I guess perhaps the argument would be it deters some people, and just the real stubborn ones still get through. I was going to say, it seems that the insistence on these really cruel punishments really are just then cruelty, not strictness in the service of rectitude. I don't know. In other words, the Law and Order,
yes,
doesn't, going all Law and Order, there's not much evidence that actually produces the Law and Order we're going for.
True. It does seem very similar to Gilead, very Handmaid's Tale, because in the book they talk about how some women have become sterile and they're not able to have children, which I think is another reason why they made abortion illegal, because the population is suffering. But it's also interesting how Hannah will not name the husband or the father of the baby, who is married and a husband to someone else. But because she won't name the husband, she gets an additional 6 years as a crone. But she's so in love with him and doesn't want him to get into the spotlight, so she doesn't name him. So I think that's interesting. And then another thing she talks about is how at the beginning, when they first started chroming people, it would somehow get into their eyes and then they wouldn't be able to see. They'd go blind. They'd be crazy. But they've since been able to modify the chroming program so that it's only their skin. But she only has to live as a chrome for 16 years. And then somehow, magically, they're going to take the pigment out of her skin. So it is somewhat temporary, but it will affect her, because I think she's like 18 or 19. So, yeah.
So 2 things real quick. Hopefully it's clear that I'm not in my usual spot. I'm mobile and my battery's of course dying. So if I cut out, just wrap up without me. I hope to make it for the next 5 or 6 minutes. But also, just then as an aside, speaking of fictional names of scary places, I don't know if you picked this up this week, that there's a company that has announced it has set the pricing for its COVID treatment. Did you catch that?
No, I did not.
This drug company, it was named Gilead. So I'm like, oh, so this is where it begins.
Yes.
That's not really relevant to what you were.
Well, it's a balm of Gilead. It's healing.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Will save us. Yeah. Another thought I had was, I do think it's interesting how some number of dystopian stories assume, or in the storyline, the dystopia is built on a radical enforcement of Christianity specifically.
Yes.
So I wonder if there is storytelling, and there is storytelling in other contexts that pick other religions for that. Is that choice because the authors of these stories are, live in a society that's majority Christian, or is there something about Christianity that makes folks think that is a good candidate for such dystopian ends? I don't know. Maybe
it's interesting.
Yeah. So, got any powerful connections to this novel?
The Scarlet Letter. I think and names are very interesting as well. Like her name is Hannah and not Hester. And Hannah, in the Bible, Hannah is the mother of Samuel. She wasn't able to have children, and then she's able to have a baby, and she gets really excited, but then she gives up Samuel for priesthood.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting that the author chose Samuel. And the author is actually the same writer. She wrote the book Mudbound, which was made into a Netflix film. But it talks about, I believe it talks about race and life after World War II between a white farmer and a black farmer, I think in Mississippi. So heavy stuff. I think this was her second book after Mudbound, and Mudbound really put her on the map. But I don't really have any other connections to the book besides Nathaniel Hawthorne.
Well, so the just too easy connection for me is the solution to things that aren't going the way they should.
Mm-hmm.
The way to get individuals in a society to act in ways that benefit this society isn't to go to these extremes,
Mm-hmm.
to go to levels of control. And I think there is evidence to that. Listen, you create just, equitable societies where the incentive to go up on your own is you miss out on what society has to offer you. So that's as good as it gets for me.
Well, good. Alrighty. You're breaking up a little bit. Well, our next film / book is V for Vendetta. So we will be discussing that on our next episode. remember to tune in and watch the next episode of BM by BM. But I'm Bailey, and that's Maxie. Technical difficulties, yes. Alrighty, see you later.